Hello everybody, so we're back again today working on the trailer. It's been about 3 weeks since I was able to work on the trailer last. I ended up blowing out 3 discs in my lower back and my lumbar spine, in the lumbar part of my spine about 3 weeks ago. Today's actually 4 Mondays ago, and I somehow or other managed to blow out 3 discs by bending down to take a measurement. So I had not worked at all on the trailer. I had a friend of mine come in and just connect up all the outlets inside the trailer, outlets and switches. So now those are all done. Now the next thing to do is go ahead and get the generator set up. So my son and I are going to get the generator set up today. I'm still not allowed to lift, so my son will be doing most of the physical heavy lifting, and we're going to get the generator set up. Enjoy watching. Okay, so this is the WEN generator. It's a 3800 watt inverter generator, 3800 peak watts and 3400 running watts. As you can see, it has 220 amp outlets. It has a 30 amp, what they call an RV outlet. This is what I'll be using inside the trailer to be able to connect up my electrical. 12 volts DC. It has USB ports, and it also has a parallel connect up here if I want to be able to connect. I'm actually not sure what that's for, but it has a parallel connect also. And it's a very simple system, but a very, very beautiful little system. As you can see, it's got a pull bar, so you can pull it along, wheels along the back. It's heavy, it weighs about 100 pounds. Oil is going to be going into here. It has a pull start, but not only does it have a pull start, it also has an electric start. So I can turn it on or off however I want to, whether I want to pull it or electric start, either one will work. And we're going to go ahead now and add oil in, get the generator up and running for a little while. A couple of things we need to do, like removing the bolts at the bottom that hold the motor in place, or at least hold the engine in place so it doesn't move during shipping. We remove those, fill it with oil, get it going for an hour to be able to prime it, get the system ready to run. Once it's been running for an hour, we can then go ahead and pull all the oil out. Once the oil is out, we go ahead and put more oil in, and then give it another 4 or 5 hours of run time with very little load, if any, just so that it not wears itself in, but it gets itself, not sure what the right term is, but it gets it ready to run. And we may have to replace oil again at that point, but that'll be it. Then it'll be up and running. Now if I step back, you'll see that I actually have 2 of them. We're going to be running both of these together. One will run one side of the electrical board, one will run the other side of the electrical board. So between the two, I'll have about 6,800 running watts that I'll be able to use. So first things first, I just want to show you what actually comes included with the generator. We have a little toolkit. It's a very cute little toolkit. Comes with a socket wrench to be able to remove spark plugs, a 10mm, 8mm wrench or a spanner, 17mm, 14mm wrench and spanner, and a screwdriver that is reversible. So the screwdriver actually pops out and goes back in. So in other words, you have both sides of the screwdriver. You have a Phillips head on one side, flat head on the other. And then the generator also comes with a funnel. So it comes with a neck and a funnel to be able to put oil in. And the piece clips in into the funnel. I don't think it screws in, I think it just clips into place. Is what it looks like. There you go. And we can now put oil into the generator. First things first though, before we carry on, we're going to be moving the tools out of the way. We're going to set the generator up in such a way that will allow me to get to the nuts underneath. We have to remove the nuts and bolts. Well, it's actually nuts and holding plates for the engine underneath, and then we'll carry on. So as you can see, we've moved the generator so that it's balancing over the cart that's holding the other generator and the back behind. They recommend not tilting the generator to get to the bolts underneath, because if there's any oil or if there's any fuel left inside from testing, you could end up having that fuel spilling out inside the engine, which we don't want. So right now we've got this suspended over, and we're going to go ahead and start removing the nuts underneath. 10mm wrench or socket, and it should be, once you should be able to do it by hand once you loosen the nut. And you're removing both the nut and the holding plate. There are 4 of these. The 10mm wrench that they included works perfectly. Okay, I've turned the generator back so it makes it easier to work on it from the side here, and we are now going to go ahead and get the oil going. Pop off the little door. First things first is we're going to be removing the dip valve, the dipstick. I'm actually going to be replacing the dipstick with a magnetic tip dipstick that helps to remove any bits of pieces of steel that happen to go through after the first couple of times of running. There's usually little pieces at the end. I'll show you that dipstick when we're ready to install it. The oil that we're using, there are a couple of different oils that you can use. I'm using the 5W30, which is a good oil, synthetic blend. It's a good oil for basically any temperature. And here in Florida, considering our temperature is usually either hot or hot, this is a perfect oil for here. We're now going to go ahead and start filling with oil. The system requires 18.6 ounces is what it would require to be full. So the oil, we're going to go ahead and start filling now. Out of these 5-quart jugs, it's just almost half of a jug. So I made a small mess up over here. What I did accidentally was make a very bad miscalculation and thought that 32 fluid ounces was a gallon, not a quart. And considering it only needs 18.6 fluid ounces, I put in about one and a half. I put in quite a bit too much oil. So as you can see, there's a bit of an oil spill. We cleaned it up, and we should be good at this point. One other thing I forgot to mention is that with these generators, when you're filling with oil, you have to make sure that they are level, so that you know that the oil level is going perfectly. So I know that from front to back it's level, but the side to side was not. So I put in the oil cap I've just placed underneath the wheel, just to make sure that the generator was level while we were filling with oil. We're now going around the front, and this is where the battery compartment is. The next step is to be able to remove the battery, because the battery is not connected. It's only connected on the positive, not on the negative. So we open up the little door. There's a little strap that you can see here, holds the battery in place. I'm going to slide the battery out. The screwdriver comes in handy. This battery is the battery that's going to allow us to have an automatic start. So we just push a button and start it. The positive side, as I mentioned, already comes connected. It's just the negative side that has to be connected up. I want to keep this further back so that it doesn't interfere with the door. And then pull the little rubber gasket right back over and cover it up. Slide the whole battery right back into place. And clip it back down. Battery stays in, close up, and my hands are full of oil, so it's hard to pull it out. Lock it into place, and now we are ready to start filling it with gasoline. I don't want to fill it with gasoline up here. I won't be able to do it easily, so we're going to pull this off and fill it up on the floor. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fill the generator with gas. I think it takes about 2 gallons or so approximately. I have about 4 gallons of gas. I'm going to be using some in this generator and some in the other one. I'm going to fill it up and run it. One thing I'm seeing now that I did not see before was a very cute little startup guide that they have that shows you all the steps that I'm doing. I filled about 1 gallon, but for right now that's enough to be able to get it started and tested. Next thing to do, they ask you to ground the generator. They ask you to ground the generator, considering this generator is going to end up being used for a trailer and there's no way to ground it at every spot. I called Wen up directly and Wen told me not to worry. This does not need to be grounded if it's going to be used as a generator. It theoretically could be grounded to the body of the generator, but that still won't be grounded to the ground. So we're going to go ahead and run it now without putting in a ground. And we're going to go to the front and turn it on. One thing I did not mention earlier is the type of gasoline. It requires minimum of 87 octane. So you can go higher, but a minimum of 87, and it's best to be able to use ethanol free. If you can't get ethanol free, the maximum you're allowed to use is up to 10%, but not over. Anything over 10% can go ahead and damage the engine. So when starting up the generator, make sure two things. Well, a number of things. Number one, make sure that your eco mode switch is in the off position, as it is right here. Go ahead, turn the knob to start. It's got a 3-way knob: auto and off, run, start, and then we can go ahead and push the start button. You'd never want to push it for too long. If it tries to start and doesn't, turn it off, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on. Give it a couple of times because you don't want to keep the starter running and can damage it. And nothing is happening. I'm not sure why nothing is happening. I'm not seeing anything at all here. Ah, sorry. There you go. Once it is started as it has now, go ahead and turn it to run and let it run. And that is the sound of the generator. You can hear me, I'm talking right next to the generator. These generators supposedly run at approximately 55 to 57 decibels, which they say is about the same sound as a conversation. I would say that this was probably about the same sound, maybe a little bit louder. If I was running in the background behind me, would I notice it? Yes. Would it disturb me? I don't think so. We'll have to see what the two of them together sound like afterwards. So I'm going to let this run now for an hour, so that way it can do its running processes it needs to. And, so we're going to be showing you how to start the generators and what they sound like, and of course give a little bit of an overview of what the little electrical panel little readout panel right there is all about. Okie dokie. So first things first, turn this all the way down to start. I'm going to start this one with electric start, and then I'm going to go ahead and start the other one with pull start, just so you can see the difference. So first things first, eco mode in the off position, start button, start knob to start, then push the button. We do it a couple of times until it gets going. Sometimes it takes a couple of times for it to go on. One of the main reasons is because when I turned the generator off, I turned it to auto off. Right there, as you can see, where it says auto off, and the reason I did that is so that it would automatically drain all of the gasoline that was inside of the carburetor, so it can't end up getting hard and gumming up the inside. So it now has to not just start, it has to actually prime and pull enough gasoline through to be able to get it started. They also ask you not to push the start button for too long. It's like in a car, you don't want to turn it on and let it crank for a long time because it will burn out the starter. There you go, and that one is up and running. I'm going to go ahead and turn this to eco mode just so you can hear what the decibel sound of this is. I measured with a decibel meter, and standing right next to it, I was running at about 70 decibels. It's rated for around 56, 57 decibels from 25 feet away. So now when we turn it to eco mode, you can visibly hear how much quieter it gets. So now, just to give you an idea of the readout on the what they call the multimeter in this case. So you have a number of different things. Here, this is your load. It's telling you how much load is actually currently being drawn, and of course I don't have anything plugged into it, so it's zero load. This little triangle here, a warning sign, is in case you're overloading the generator. This is telling you that it's a green light, telling you that you do have current. This is your oil light in case there's too much, in case there's not enough oil. It does have an automatic shut off if the oil level drops too low. This here is telling me how much gas I have left inside the tank. Again, a 2.2 gallon tank, and right now I've got about 50% left. Now, as you can see, this is changing constantly. Right now the 5, let's go start with this one, 123.9 is telling you the output voltage, 60 hertz, that's telling you the frequency that it's running on, and then the 5 is telling me how many hours I have running on the generator at this point in time. So now that we've done that one, let's go ahead and get the second one started. The second one, we're going to do the same thing, make sure that the eco mode is off, turn it to start, and we're going to go ahead and pull the cable. And up and running it goes. You can hear how loud that one is now. If you can hear me still over the sound of both generators, it really isn't that loud at all. I'm turning this one to eco mode as well. Bring that down, and again you can hear the difference. This is with 2 generators running, and this is from right next to them. I'm now stepping further away. I'm 10 feet away currently. Everything sounds great. I'm approximately 20 feet away, and now at 25 feet, approximately 25 feet away from the trailer. You're hardly hearing it at all. You do hear a little bit. You can hear that there's a generator running in the background, but not very loud. And that's how these generators operate. I'm going to leave them running for a few minutes before I plug any electrical into them, but that will be done shortly.